Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, From Alert to Action, Revolutionizing Enterprise Security with Automation. I'm Nisreen Shams, the AVP of Business Development at Stratagem, and happy to have you join us for this very critical discussion today. Cybersecurity has never been more high stakes. The speed, the scale, and sophistication of threats continue to grow, and traditional approaches simply can't keep up. But here's the bigger picture. Automation isn't just about efficiency. It's about empowering security teams to outpace adversaries, to shift from reactive to proactive, and to redefine what's possible in cyber defense. Today, we're diving into how automation is reshaping security operations, freeing analysts from repetitive tasks and driving real-world impact. This is about more than just technology. It's about securing the future. So let's get started. I wanted to start off with a quick introduction to who we have on the call here with us today. We have Jawed Ahmed, who is a CTO at Stratagem, now a Bell Canada company. He'll be joining us today for the bulk of the discussion. And I'll walk everybody through a brief agenda as to what we're going to be covering today. So we'll start off with a bit of an introduction to what is security automation, then talking a little bit about the challenges in enterprise security, what we've seen over a decade of practice in this industry as Stratagem. Then again, how automation can enhance security practices. What are the pros of the automation? How can it help enhance the efficiency? Then key components of automation. We'll dive into some real world use cases, which will be very impactful for a lot of you, a lot of the listeners today. And then the key benefits of automation, where we see automation heading in the future, implementation and best practices. And of course, we'll close out with a conclusion. Feel free throughout the duration of this presentation to put any questions you have in the chat. We will have a little section of Q&A in the end, but by all means, feel free to put those questions in the chat and we'll go live from there. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Jawed and we will chat at the end of this presentation.
Thank you, Nisreen. Thank you for the introduction. And we have a lot of content to go over. So let's dive into the presentation. So let's do introduction to security automation. In today's rapidly evolving threat landscape, managed security operations are no longer sufficient for the enterprise. The security operations needs to leverage automations, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and to respond in real time, and sometimes without human intervention, right? So in this presentation, we'll go over some of the challenges the enterprise may face, why security needs a revolution, what can we do about it, where we at, and so on and so forth. So why does security need a revolution? And it needs a revolution very fast because enterprises are facing security challenges. Enterprises are seeing a rise in cybercrime activities. We all know about hackers, cyber criminals, state-sponsored hackers. They're using sophisticated methods to breach the security systems. We all know that cybercrime as a service exists. Ransomware as a service platform exists. And these attackers are using these platforms with minimal technical expertise. Enterprises have also expanding their attack surfaces with the adoption of cloud computing, remote work, IoTs. Organizations have more endpoint to protect, more digital asset to protect. And now with the employee working from home and using unsecured network, the increase of attacks and breaches have only increased. Attackers are also using advanced techniques. They're also using AI and automation to conduct large-scale phishing, ransomware, zero-day attacks. They're using sophisticated social engineering techniques, deepfake phishing techniques, supply chain attacks, right? So all these are increasing the challenges in the enterprise security, right? Now, apart from these, enterprise also face financial and reputational damage, right? They have to, if they have a single cyber security attack, it can cost millions of dollars of revenue loss. They have downtime, they have legal fees. And if they're attacked by ransomware, then there's hefty price to pay, right? So all these enterprises challenges that exist right now. Okay, and traditionally, the traditional security operations, they're slow and they're reactive. What do I mean by that? Right? So when an incident is triggered, the security teams are often manually investigating and responding to those threats, and that leads to delay. The longer the delay is, the more attackers get their foothold in the environment, and they're better exposed. The customer data is in a risk of being exposed. Most traditional security, they're reactive instead of proactive approach. So once they get an alert, they look at the alert, they try to understand what is happening. Then they probably open a ticket, they escalate it. So these are very slow reactive processes. Now, to top of it all, there's volumes of security alerts coming in. There's huge number, overwhelming number of alerts that are coming in on a daily basis. So alert fatigue is real and it is impacting the analyst. And because of these, some legitimate threats can go undetected or unaddressed. Right now, apart from this, uh, traditional security tools are siloed. They don't work in an integrated fashion. Right. So if an analyst has to get an information, they probably might have to log into multiple technologies to get the information correlated, and it basically slows down the response time. Right? Now, without the AI capabilities, these are not integrated. Right? So the analysts have to depend on alert driven methods rather than action oriented methods. Right? So they're very, very reactive. So to overcome these challenges, we'll be discussing a few methods in overcoming these challenges and how we can address these. So moving on. So battle against cyber threats, right? So I already discussed that there's overwhelming security alerts due to rising cyber threats, right? There's alerts overload. Um, there's alerts coming from your firewall, from your EDR, from endpoint security. There's correlation alerts coming from your SIM, different platforms. Most of them, if not everything, they might be false positives. They're low priority, and it's really hard to focus on real threats. So, and because of these, the alerts, there are very good chances of those alerts being missed, right? Um, then sophisticated cyber threat attacks. We also already mentioned the number and the sophistication of these alerts across multiple tools are on an increase, right? The analysts have multiple tools to go to get the details of the alert, and some of these tools sometimes are redundant, right? So most organizations, they might have an EDR solution, but there are different types of EDR solutions, right? So they have to go to different solutions, different technologies to get the details of these alerts. The other real challenge that we're facing is the shortage of skilled cybersecurity professionals. There's a growing cybersecurity skills gap. Okay? Um, According to one report, there's going to be a shortage of 1 million cybersecurity professionals, right? And many of these cybersecurity teams are overworked. They're understaffed. They have to do more with little, right? And the demand is just too much, and the supply is very little, right? The other challenge is fast-paced technology evolution. You might be working on something today, 2 months down the line, it's completely changed. The security landscape is evolving at a rapid pace, right? So you have to keep up with it. So this is also creating a shortage of skills, right? And then you have lack of qualified candidates as well, right? So many job postings that you see, they require CISP, CEH, OCSP, OCCP, and they're limiting the pool from where you can pick. Okay? So that there's no enough professions available with all the skill sets. The demand is very high, right? And again, there's high burnout and stress. The security teams, they face constant pressure, and it's leading to burnouts and employee turnovers. At the same time, there's competition for talent, right? And a large enterprise or a government enterprise attract top cybersecurity talent, leaving small and mid-sized business struggling to fill those roles. Then higher cost for organizations. So these shortage of skill gaps are are driving up the salaries, making cybersecurity hiring very expensive, right? So these are some of the challenges. Now, there's also, we talked about slow incident response times, high volume alert time, manual investigation and response times, lack of integrated solutions, and the constant evolution and evolvement of the advanced cybersecurity threats. The complexity of environment is also is increasing, right? Earlier, there's only be on-prem enterprises, on-prem solutions. Now you have complexity of multi-cloud solutions, multi-cloud environments, hybrid environments. So people are using AWS, Google, Azure environments, and they all are configured uniquely to their environment, right? So keeping up with all these technologies is becoming difficult and expensive, right? Attack surfaces are increasing. Attackers are using AI-powered APTs, social engineering, and there's lack of standardized policies across customers, right? So these are all are leading this is to the complexity to address these cyber threats. Okay, and these are the battles that the analysts, the security teams are up against every day. Okay, so how automation is going to enhance this, right? So we talked about automation. How is it going to enhance it? So using automation, we can reduce response times to threats, right? The automation tool can triage your threats, can automate response, can integrate with threat intelligence feeds. It can do your reporting. It can help with analysis of the logs, right? It can help enhance threat detection and prevention, right? It's using AI and automation. It's more faster, more accurate. It's more proactive, and it's less prone to human errors and fatigue. Uh, Automation helps you in regular routine tasks, right? So, for example, you're doing a health check, right? So most of the analysts, their one of the regular tasks is to come on and do a health check to see if the systems are still reporting, if the logs are coming in, if the systems are healthy, right? So these are all taking time, and it eventually it's causing a delay in response. So for these, we need to automate these routine tasks, right? Then there's compliance reporting, right? You have to monitor compliance monitoring. For example, if a user is accessing sensitive data, an automated system can generate an alert, at the same time block access and log that incident in the compliance record, right? Um, it's accurate and it's real-time auditing. So you don't have to spend a lot of time doing a compliance report and stuff like that later on. Let's talk about the key components of automation. So when you're doing automation, you obviously need technology. So let's dive into some of the technologies that you may need to do your automation, right? So we call it the power tools of cybersecurity defense, right? Excuse me. So SIM is at the heart of it, right? So SIM, you use it to collect your data, analyze your data, correlate the data in real time. It's centralized, it's better for threat detection, it identifies patterns, it helps in compliance, auditing, and it maintains the security logs. Then you have SOAR, Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response tool, which helps to create a playbook that you can use with your SIM and other technologies to bind everything to create an automated response, right? You might have an EDR tool, an endpoint detection response tool that protects your endpoint. It continuously monitors your endpoint. It detects anomalous activities. It provides threat remediations, right? And then artificial intelligence and machine learning. In today's modern SIM, AI and ML is already built into the platform. It is designed to identify anomalies and your attack pattern in real time. It automates your security decisions. It prevents zero-day threat alerts. It improves fraud detection, phishing analysis, malware classification. So you can create all your use cases within the SIM to detect all of these alerts, these activities. There are other tools such as CASB, NDR, IAM, ZTNA, IPS, IDS. But again, you cannot use this technology if you want to do a real automation and have benefit of automation, secure automation. You cannot use this technology in silo. You have to integrate it. And with stratagems of cyber mesh architecture, what we have done is we have integrated this solution together. So the input or the output from one technology becomes an input for other technology, right? We can take the input from one technology, analyze it, feed it through threat intelligence, feed it through the Gen AI, and identify the results and take an action based on the response, right? So with cyber security mesh, we integrate everything using API, and these days the APIs are getting vast, getting more, they're exposing more and more attributes, more and more functionalities. So you can use these APIs to integrate these silos technologies and come up with a playbook, an automated response. Okay. Now, having said that, so let's dive into some of the real world use cases. So while I'm doing this demo, I'll be using the real tools to do this demo. And I might flip around between screens because, again, I have to show a few different technologies to see how they all come together and work together. So if you see me flipping around, do excuse me. So with that, let's go into a real use cases. So uh, I'll be showing about a few use cases, real world use cases that we at Stratasm use it constantly. Give me one sec. Let me log on. Okay. Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen. Let me log on to. So, like I said, the SIM is at the heart of this, right? Um, because it does the correlation, right? For tools that does not require correlation. So, for example, let's say an EDR, right? EDRs are smart enough that can say, okay, this is an actual threat or not. So you don't need any correlation from EDR. So you can directly plug into EDR and get the events and take action upon it, right? But in this case, let's look at the SIM where I have this customer. It's a demo environment. I have this customer, and I have some of the devices logging on for this customer. Um, so let's call it customer X. I have some Windows, Office, firewall logging into this environment, and I have use cases defined. There's multiple use cases defined, and every organization needs to customize these use cases to suit your environment. Sometimes sometimes it's not one use case fits all. There always have to be there are always some exceptions to it. Like for example, an organization in North they're based in North America, but they might have operations outside of North America, right? So you can't have an alert saying anything outside of North America just alert me because you have operations outside of North America, so you have to put those exceptions, right? So I have these use cases here defined, and based on the device type and the use cases, I have some incident being generated. Okay. So in this demo environment with only, I believe, 20, 30 devices, I have 48 incidents in the last 2 hours, right? And some of them are low, medium, high incidents. So the analysts have to look at it on a daily basis, right? So you also see that within this environment, I talked about the cyber mesh architecture, right? So right off the bat, and because of the integration, my analyst doesn't have to create an incident manually. So we use ServiceNow as a ITSM tool. The analyst doesn't have to open an incident manually. Every incident that is open in my SIM, a corresponding ticket is open in ServiceNow, right? With all the related details and everything. So that's time saved over there. Okay, that's response time saved over there. Now, once the instance is generated, if I go to my SOAR, so in this case, I'm using FortiSOAR as my SOAR platform. Um, my SIEM is integrated into FortiSOAR. So any and every incident that is generated in the SIEM is ingested into FortiSOAR, right? Is ingested. So once the incident is here, the incident is is the details on this incident. So I have the incident ticket number. I have this data. The data is already mapped, right? The data is already passed. It is mapped to the attributes. It's already done. We have already done that work in the backend. So the data mapping is already done. Okay? So that's another time saved, right? Now, like I said, every ticket that is opened, it is ingested here. There's a ticket here. The ticket information is also ingested in SOAR. Apart from that, my ITSM service now is also integrated with my SOAR platform. So I'm ingesting every incident that is open in my SOAR platform, not only incident. Any request that the customer opens, I'm ingesting it in my SOAR platform. Okay. Now, based on this, there are few playbooks that gets activated. Right now, coming to the slide, let's look at the AI-powered threat augmentation. Okay. So let's see for this demo. We'll go to playbooks. Okay. Here, let's go here. Okay. So what are we looking at here? So okay. So here, this playbook is basically ingesting the incident and trying to analyze the raw log. Okay. So we all know that sometimes the Windows logs, the firewall logs, or AWS logs, the Azure logs, Office 365 logs, they can be hard to interpret, right? Unless you're a very experienced analyst, sometimes it can be very difficult to interpret what the log is actually trying to tell you. Okay. So this playbook, what it does is any incident that comes in, it takes a raw log, okay, it takes a raw log and we run it through the Gen AI log enrichment. Okay. Now we use ChatGPT, we use Gemini. We feed the raw log to these platforms. The AI analyzes the log and gives me an output in a simplified format. Okay. Now, most people will tell me, oh, then you are exposing the PI data. There might be PI data, like say, for example, O365 logs, right? There might be an email address, right? A username. So what we are doing is, in the backend, we are actually, let me go to the reference playbook. Okay. So it is calling this playbook. So here we have written a code to hash out to encrypt all the PI data. Okay, so rest assured, none of your data, your personal data, personal identifier information is going into ChatGPT or going to these platforms. It's all hashed, is obfuscated, is replaced, and once we get back the data, we replace the data with the original data, and that is what is put into the ServiceNow environment. So let's go back to our playbook again. So that was the intelligence powered. I'm going to run this. So in this demo environment, I'm not waiting for incidents to happen. I'm running this playbook, triggering this playbook. So as I trigger this playbook, you'll see that it's going through going through the certain steps. So because this incident is already in ServiceNow, I'm getting the ServiceNow ID, getting the raw log data, passing it through the Gen AI. Okay, waiting for it to interpret. Okay, takes a few seconds to interpret the data because we're running a lot of hashing algorithm in the backend. Hashing a lot of the PI data in the backend, and I see a question: is it 100%? No, it is 100%. It's always all the time. The hashing is 100%, and it is always removed. Okay, so what it has done is it's gone through the AI, the Gen AI, got the data back, and it has updated my service now incident. So let me see which ticket that it opened. I'm just grabbing the ticket incident number here. And if I go to my service now, and so that was the actual log, the raw log. Okay, that was the actual raw log. This is the output from Gen AI. Okay, and it has done some analysis as well on this. Okay, so now this is easier to read and interpret than this. Okay, so the analysts we have saved time for the analysts to actually read the raw log, understand it, do some analysis on it, open the ticket, update the ticket. It is all done for you with the AI. Okay. So that was one use cases, and we have done this for all our incidents that is in the production environment. Every incident, uh, the raw log is being analyzed and put in a simplified manner, and some recommendations are performed as well. Now, so that was one use case. Let's look at our other use cases. So, smart incident detection, diagnosis, and remediation. So, let's go to this one. Now, this might seem like a very easy playbook, but in the back end, it's doing a lot of things. Okay, so we have integrated this with this playbook is actually integrated with ServiceNow, with Gen AI, uh, with threat intelligence, with the threat feeds. We use anomaly and recorded feature in the backend for threat intelligence. ServiceNow, there's AI decisions being made at this point. Uh, and at the end, if we see this activity is malicious, we are taking remediation action as well. So we are revoking user sessions on Microsoft O365. We are disabling the user. We are randomizing the password of that user, right? We're blocking the IP, the source IP on the firewall, disabling the VPN user, containing the host, and updating ServiceNow ticket. So there are multiple technologies integrated here. Okay, so before I go here, let's look at the firewall. Okay, this is the firewall. So for this demo, we have used this user that is malicious, and you can see this user is enabled right now. And if I go to the dashboard, there's no IPs in quarantine, right? And if I go to my CrowdStrike, let me log back in. Give me one sec. Okay, I have my CrowdStrike here, my EDR for the demo platform. Let's see the host, and we'll be doing this experiment or playbook against one of the test systems that we have here, so we don't, you know, lock out everybody from the systems. Not this host. I think it's this guy. Yeah, this is our test system. So you see this is online right now. So let's go through that playbook. Okay. Let me run through this playbook. Okay. So this playbook, so assuming that the incident has triggered, a malicious user has logged on over the VPN and is doing lateral movement on the systems. Okay. So that incident gets generated in the SIM. The SIM does all the correlation. We have correlation rules in the SIM. It correlates the data, creates an incident. That incident gets ingested in FortiSOAR. Once the incident is ingested, the playbook is activated, and it goes through the motions of checking out every detail. So again, one of the common questions that I have from customers is, yes, it's good that you have this use case. Why should I be monitoring the use cases? So these are some of the questions that we pose to AI as well, Gen AI, of why you should be monitoring these incidents and what you should be doing at it, right? So here you see it's gone through hashing the raw log, going to the recorded future, threat intelligence feed, making intelligent decision, finding information about the IP address, where it is located, who it belongs to who. Look at if the IP is suspicious based on the confidence and severity from the threat intelligence feeds. And once it's identified this is actually malicious, so you say you're doing multiple checks, not that do this and this. We're doing multiple checks, we're using multiple technologies to come to that decision. So with this decision, we have revoked the user session, we have changed the password, reset on on-prem, we have blocked the IP in the 48. disable the VPN for the user, we've contained the host, and we have updated the ServiceNow ticket. Okay. So before I go to the ServiceNow ticket, let's see if it actually did that. Okay. So if I come here, so you see I have one IP in quarantine. That's this IP. Okay. Let's see if my user got uh, disabled. So my user is disabled now, right? Let's see if my host is contained. Okay. So my host is contained. Okay. So so you see within a matter of minutes, we have taken multiple actions, right? Not only that, if I go back here and if I open the incident to see what did we do, okay? So you see it has also resolved it. Okay, so let's go step by step what it did. So it did the log analysis. So you see this user was detected, and that is the same user as this user. Okay, so these were detected from this IP source for this IP. So if you go on the firewall and if you see the dashboard, okay, so that's the IP 35.182.72.27. So we have that's the IP address. Okay, so this was the log that was generated, and that is the analysis of the log. And what did we do? So instead of analysts spending time and entering all the information that of the actions that we did, uh, we have given all the information for the customer. So we have revoked the access for this user. We have scrambled the password for this user. We have blocked the offending IP. We have disabled the user, and we have quarantined the endpoint, all within a matter of minutes, right? What was the threat intelligence feedback? So this IP, as per threat intelligence, was 95% confident that if the IP was malicious and the threat severity was very high. Okay. And we give all the additional details. What's the username? What was the risk score? The source IP, which IP reported it, and this is for mostly for the customers. Why is this incident important to monitor? So we give a brief description of the incident, why it should be monitored, and then additional details from anomaly, recorded feature, who is information. Again, you can see this IP was from China. So all this information was already done by FortiSol without any human intervention. Ticket was escalated and resolved as well. Okay. So this is one of the use cases, and we have been implemented this for many of our customers. So it's not that if we implement it, we can do this. We are doing this right now. All right, let's look at one more. Okay, self-healing system that mitigate vulnerabilities. So what does it entail? Okay, so one of my colleagues has been kind enough to open a request for this. So this basically a customer puts in the request to initiate to do a vulnerability scan. Okay, so normally somebody would approve it, somebody would do all the details on whichever platform you're using, Qualys, Rapid7, and so on, and create the scan and run the scan. Okay, but you've automated all this. Okay, so let's look at the request that my colleague has created, and I'm going to approve it. Okay, so the request was created to do a scan, okay, on this IP. Okay, and the approval usually, you can't just go do a scan randomly, so you need to get approval. So once it's approved, oh, somebody just approved it. Okay, 1361 1361. Let me go here. Okay, there's somebody approved it before my meeting. um, Anyway, so this one was automatically generated. Okay, and if I say somebody, that IP was included in this scan. Okay, that IP was included in the scan. So the analyst no longer has to initiate um, initiate the scan. They can the scan can be initiated automatically. Once the scan is complete, we have automation in place within ServiceNow to grab this scan results and upload it to the ServiceNow incident or the request for customers to review. We also go one step further. If there is any vulnerability that is exploited in the wild, okay, so that vulnerability becomes a priority for the customers to address. Okay, so these are some of the ways we are assisting the analyst as well as the customer in prioritizing the vulnerabilities and doing the scans. Okay, okay, move to this. Okay, let's look at our next use case, automating routine tasks such as incident closure and health check. Okay? So let's look at the health check playbook. Okay, let's see health check playbook. Okay, now this has been scheduled to run 3 times a day. Okay, now normally when the analysts come, one of their tasks is to see if all the systems are reporting in your SIM, right? So they usually come here. They look at the systems they're reporting. That they're not reporting, it's marked as critical, right? If I look at the details, the system has not reported in 1 hour. The syslog has not reported in over an hour, right? So the analyst comes into the shift and goes through all these devices, and there might be multiple customers that he has to go through. So an analyst spends upwards of 3 hours doing this, or maybe 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours doing this health check. And these are important because if you are not logging, um, if you're not logging, you're not getting any logs, then none of the use cases or the automation will trigger. So it's very critical that you do this health check and you validate that their logs are coming in. Okay? Now, with this use case, I'm just going to run it again. Okay. Now, this are so at Stratum we have 3 shifts running and plus a weekend shift. Now, if you noticed, it ran through very quickly. So it already did the health check. So I'll come to the health check of the incident in a minute. But at Stratum, we have multiple shifts running, and in each shift, we do a health check, right? To ensure that none of the devices are in critical state. They are sending logs so that the use cases will trigger. Okay? Now, let's see this incident. Okay, so I'm taking this incident. That was a health check incident, and you see it was already escalated to customer, assigned to the analyst. And if I just come here, see these are devices that according to health check, it's saying that it has an issue. Okay, so let's look at this system, right? So company X EDR, let's validate if this is actually true. Okay, so that's company X. And if you see right off the bat, the event status is not here. So that means there's something wrong with this. And if you do the monitoring, it's not there. So this is not reporting. So this is some of the checks and balance that you need to put in, right? And we just contained the system a few minutes ago. So yes, that's not logging. So let's look at this jump box. So 11.109. So let's look at 11.109. So this is 11.109. Sure enough, it is in critical state. And if I see the details, syslog was 7 days ago. So syslog, yeah, so it's getting syslog, and S12 was the last time that it reported. So we can validate it. So this is a good way to you can see that this is actually true. So this is already escalated to the customer. We validated, and then let's say it goes to a customer says, okay, this is legitimate. He puts a comment. Okay. The customer puts a comment that, hey, this is legitimate. I know these systems are dead and they're not reporting. Okay. So the customer puts in a comment, and the comment, because we have integrated ServiceNow with FortiSOAR, as soon as the customer puts in the comment, the FortiSOAR playbook is activated, and this ticket in a few minutes will be automatically closed. Right now. So what is the So this is one of the routine tasks that the analysts usually do, right? When they select something to the customer comes back with their feedback, right? So we are taking that feedback and again running it through Gen AI and analyzing those feedback to see what it actually means, right? So there are some keywords that we have put, and there are some AI learning as well in this, right? So the customer can say this is this instance is good or good to close or go ahead and close it or this is legitimate incident. So it goes and closes the incident, right? So since we have put this playbook into production, um, we have seen a 70 close to 74% reduction in analyst workload just in terms of closing the incident. So one of the tasks was to go through this incident, see what the customer is saying, and take an action. Sometimes the customer says, just close it. Sometimes the customer says, yeah, this is good to go. Or sometimes the customer says, it is intelligent enough to say the customer is saying, I need more information versus I don't need any more information. You can go ahead and close it. Okay. So let me see this incident. Okay, let me run through this incident. We're running short of time, but this will be my last demo. Oh, there's no action required. I think the incident is already closed. Okay, so these are some of the use cases that you can put in your SOAR platform and automate these tasks. Okay? Now, so what are the benefits of automation? Like you have seen in the demo, it's faster threat detection and response, right? So the incident was triggered. There was no human intervention. We have a playbook that was activated. The SOAR platform took the action, triaged the incident, took the action, updated the incident, and closed it off as well in some cases, right? Now, it reduces alert fatigue, right? Um, so analysts might have hundreds of tickets to close in a day. Okay, they might have hundreds of incidents to respond to. Some of them might be false positives or low severity, right? So the analyst doesn't have to look at those. Those are automatically handled by the AI, by the SOAR platform, right? Um, Again, it improves accuracy. It reduces human error. Um, Now, the cost saving in this is huge, right? Imagine the cost saving that you'll have when the analyst has less. You have to hire less analysts to do the same amount of work, right? Um, look at the financial losses that will not happen, right? Because of automation and response that you're doing immediate response, financial loss is reduced, right? When your systems are compromised, the actions are taken immediately. You don't have to wait for somebody to look at the incident and make a decision. The playbooks are there, and the actions are immediately taken. The scalability, right? Once you have a playbook, you can apply it across your entire IT infrastructure. Okay, that includes cloud infrastructure, hybrid workforces. Okay, and AI continues to learn from the feedback that the users are giving them, that the customers is giving them, that the analysts are giving them, and you can continuously enforce those policies across your networks, your endpoints, your cloud applications. It enhances the incident management, right? As you saw, it simplified my raw log so that the analyst can understand the logs. Not only analyst, the customer can understand the logs in a clear manner. Okay, it automatically did correlation between the SIM logs, the SIM incident, the firewall, the endpoint, and it made sense of it all and went to the threat intelligence feed, grabbed the data, took intelligent decisions, and took an action. Okay? It strengthens your compliance and governance, right? So people who are into compliance monitoring, audit monitoring, it will generate automated reports. You have all the audit tracks, right? And it enables proactive cybersecurity approach, right? It's not just reactive anymore, it's proactive. Okay. What are the best practices? Um, so best practices. So when you're talking about automation, you don't go day one and put your automations in. Okay. Um, you have to define your goals. You have to see what are the low hanging fruits, what you can automate. Not everything is a candidate for automation and remediation. You have to identify incidents or use cases that can be automated, right? Threat detections, incident responses, compliance monitoring, log analysis. Okay, you have to clearly define your KPIs. You have to define your KPIs to measure your mean time to detect, mean time to respond. Okay, um, you have to look at your high repetitive tasks, high impact tasks, and repetitive tasks. Okay? So blocking IP on the firewall. Okay, um, um, closing your incidents, log analysis. You can do patch management. Okay, but you have to really analyze what you want to do before you put that into production. Okay, then you have to implement your automation tools, Fortisor or it can be Palo Alto XOR or whichever technology you're using, right? Then you have to create your automated incident response playbook. You have to test those playbooks, make sure that is not taking any action that is or adverse action, right? Making sure that you're addressing the firewall rule that needs to be addressed. You're not isolating systems because one of the incident use cases is isolating a system. You have to make sure before you isolate that is the threat is actually real. Okay. And again, you have to integrate with AI, machine learning. You have to teach your AI. You have to use machine learning models, identify the patterns um, before you escalate or you take any action. Okay. You have to make sure your tools are integrated. If your tools are still siloed, you cannot take any actions. You cannot do your playbooks. You cannot do any response. Okay? Compliance. Use automation to enforce compliance policies. Okay, for log collection, for audit readiness. Okay, uh, you have to monitor this continuously. You have to monitor the performance of your systems, performance of your core platform. And last but not the least, you have to have human oversight. Yes, we've talked about with less and less human intervention, but you have to maintain the human in the loop approach. So it's a constant feedback, constant nurturing, constant refining of these playbooks, right? So you have to look at your playbooks. You have to make sure that the playbooks is doing what is intended to do. Okay? So human intervention will always be there. Okay? Okay. Last, in conclusion, what I would say is you know organization needs to build an advanced cybersecurity framework that leverages AI, machine learning, automation, and they can respond with minimal human intervention. Okay? You have to automate threat detections. You have to automate investigations. You have to continuously analyze these large volumes of data, identify patterns, suspicious behavior. You have to look at reducing manual tasks, minimizing response time. Okay. You have to look at cost, improve resiliency. Okay. Now, once you build this framework, you'll only increase your response capabilities, your security capabilities, and this will all lead to what we are now leaning towards is autonomous SOC. Okay. So we are getting there. Okay. So autonomous SOC is coming where most of the mundane tasks, the routine tasks, the tier one tasks will be done by AI. Okay. In this, the extension of cyber mesh architecture here, where you have the autonomous SOC functions, right? You look at logging, look at analyzing, look at threat intelligence, looking at NDR. So all this can be performed by AI. Okay. Now, and last but not the least, human expertise for oversight and improvement. So that's human in the loop function. There'll always be human intervention required, no matter what. We're not there yet, um, but human intervention is required to continuously refine and relook at the playbook and redefine the playbook. Okay? With that, I turn over to Nisreen and the team for questions.
Thank you so much,
There's a
Joed.
lot of content in a lot of in a short time, and some
Thank you
things
so
had
much.
to rush on. But let's go ahead.
That was fantastic. You have a few questions actually, Joed, in the thread here. I'm going to read them
Yes.
out to you. I'm going to start out with the most recent, and then we'll work backwards. So we have a question here from Martin. He asks, in an on-prem and cloud with 40,000 devices, how long would it take to deploy your product? And also he's asking, does it include the third parties shown in the presentation like Record Future, CrowdStrike? So I'll let you, I can answer part of that, but I'll let you answer your component of that.
So the way Strategem is built is we are built in the cloud ground up, right? Even pre-COVID, Strategem was built in the cloud ground up. Our security as a service is a premium service where we are including the SIEM as a service. We have EDR included in that. We have uh, vulnerability management included in that, and we have automation in the cloud. So the environment is already built. Onboarding 40,000 devices is a matter of putting a collector in your environment to collect the logs and send it to us. Once we have the logs, we can slice and dice and create use cases as it is specific to your environment, right? Like I said, not every, it's not one size fits all, not one use case fits everybody. There are some overlaps, but your environment might be different. So we have a bank of use cases that we can use and we can modify according to your environment. Um, but the coming to the solution is already built, deployed. Um, Once we onboard you using a collector, we can apply that pretty quick.
That's great. So I want to add as well, to your question, Martin, on the fact that, are you asking if there's any third party like Record Future, except that is built into the service. As Joed mentioned, it is a turnkey pre-integrated solution with all the best in breed technologies that we've indicated. And CrowdStrike, absolutely, we can manage that on your behalf. If you have the licenses, we can take those off your hands and manage them to optimal efficiency, or we can give you a preferred rate in terms of buying those CrowdStrike licenses and then having us manage. So Martin, I'll reach out to you on a separate thread here through email, to further engage you on these questions. But thank you for that. We have another question here, Joed, for you from Andrew Wade. He says, we are talking about blocking PII from flowing to Gemini, but on my network, we are treating IP addresses, bracket rightly or wrongly, as PII. Is there a way to block these from flowing to Gemini without handicapping the ability of Gen AI to determine false positives?
Right. So what we have done is so the data to Gen I is only for the analysis. Okay. So when we are doing the analysis of the raw log, we don't need the actual IP address to do the analysis. We can do a fake IP address or we can hash it. Now, that IP address, if you want to find out if it's a malicious, not malicious IP, we feed it through the threat intelligence feed, not to the AI. We do it through threat intelligence. Then we use anomaly recorder feature and a host of other commercial threat intelligence feeds to determine if the IP is malicious or no. But we don't need to send that specific IP to Gen AI, namely ChatGPT or Gemini. Right? I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. And he has a follow-up question as well. Andrew says also, is there a way to validate that the data collected from the customer network never leaves the country, Canadian data centers, and appropriate chain of access tracking?
Right. So we are hosted completely in the Canadian in AWS Canadian region, AWS and Azure Canadian region. No data is leaving the Canadian soil.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, and there's another question here from Ali Halal. Can your products be integrated with E5 products?
Absolutely. I believe you're talking about the Microsoft V5 licenses. So absolutely. We have integrated with all the flavors of Defender, Defender Endpoint, Defender for 365, and so on. We've integrated with Azure Sentinel as well to get ingest all their alerts and take an action on Sentinel incidents as well. We've integrated with Office 365, we've integrated with Azure AD. So yes, we can integrate with it.
Okay, and the last question I have here for you, Joed, is so with automation reducing alert fatigue and handling routine tasks, how do you see the role of cybersecurity analysts evolving? So, for example, should professionals be concerned about job displacement, or does automation create new opportunities?
Good question. And all the questions were good as well. So they were really thought provoking. Now, in terms of this question, um, see, on the contrary, the cybersecurity analyst role will be evolving rather than diminishing because of automation. Okay. Yes, while automation reduces alert fatigue and repetitive tasks, like I've been mentioning in the presentation, you still need that human intervention. Okay? Um, AI can do only so much, right? The low-level incident risk, the low-level triaging. But if it's a complex investigation, threat hunting, the analyst, human analyst, will still be needed. Okay? Um, the analyst will be shifting towards more proactive threat hunting. Okay, so AI detects anomalies, right? But human intuition is always needed. So, for example, AI detects, an unusual user behavior. Okay, but only a human analyst can determine if that was an insider threat or an employee using a new device. Okay, so that human intervention is already required, right? Now, uh, governance. Yes, you're doing all the reports and compliance and governance reports. AI is doing it, automating it, but um, security security team does need to review that. So we need that human vigilance or human eyes to look at those reports. Okay. Now, with automation, um, security analyst roles are going to become a threat investigator. They're going to become strategic investigations or roles, right? They have to learn new technologies, new roles are being created, new jobs, cybersecurity jobs are being created, right? So jobs such as AI security specialist, right? Then there's security automation engineers, then cyber risk and compliance analyst, threat hunters, cyber forensic analysis or analyst. So these are the new role they will be evolving to, right? So their job is going to get more complex. It's not going to get diminished. It's going to get more complex.
Right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Joed, for your time. I know you're a busy guy over here as a CTO at Stratagem, constantly innovating for us on the front lines. So thank you so much for your time. And to everybody who joined us today on this presentation, we will be sending out a recorded version of this for your reference. Any additional questions, feel free to email me directly. I will put my email in this chat. We'll also be following up with all our contact information in the email. So with that being said, thank you so much for everyone's time today. We will see you at a future webinar. Thanks for your time. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking the time.